Welcome, ladies and gents. I'm Dan the Man Muñoz, host of Movie Menu Interviews, where we interview up-and-coming filmmakers and actors to discuss their projects from idea to completion. I am joined by my co-host Mike Stan, and on today's episode, we'll be interviewing writer-director Justin Rettke.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And actor-writer executive producer Christopher T. Wood.
Hey guys, how's it going?
All right, welcome. How's it going, Mike?
It's going pretty good.
Good. So the reason why we do this show is basically to discuss the process for future filmmakers out there that might be listening and talk about what worked and what you would have changed for your next project, plus any advice you'd like to give to our listeners. Christopher and Justin, did you want to give a brief background about your experience in working in film?
Justin, you first.
Okay, me first. I'll try to bullet point it. It's kind of long. Well, I used to be a studio artist, and I became interested in storytelling, and that was why I moved to Los Angeles in the first place. Not a shocking development. I went to school at USC as an undergrad. Once I finished there, I did about a year and a half of random, sporadic, independent production. It was the year 2000. And it was like the first strikes by the writers and the Screen Actors Guild at the same time. So it was right when I graduated. All of LA just shut down. Oh. So it's funny because I think I'm pretty.
Welcome to LA.
Welcome to the industry, kid. So what happened was like pretty much everyone I knew from school quit, gave up on their dreams, and left LA. Wow. And as far as I know, I'm the only one from undergrad who stayed. Like I said, that was about a year and a half of crazy, weird, just fly-by-night DV. Everybody's like, oh, DV, yeah, man. Like, we finally have a format that looks good.
Yeah, DVs, yeah, my God.
And, man, I've used more of those little mag tapes than I don't even know how many of those things I filled up with material. But, you play around for a while, and then after a while you get kind of frustrated with, like, how much you don't know. And so I reapplied to USC. I looked around at what schools were offering, and USC had the stuff that I wanted for production. I really wanted to do production. So I applied and got in for grad school in the production program. And I went through that incredibly lengthy and expensive process, which is still accruing interest. And then when I got out, I did about 5 years working in camera and lighting on set, working on everything, like every possible kind of production you can think of.
Non-stop work.
No, like, it's freelance, it's, you're on, you're off, you're on, you're off, you'll end up with a month without work, it's tricky. I watched everybody else doing their projects, and there's a lot of lessons you can learn by watching everybody else screw up.
Yes.
And learning consistently how people consistently screw up, especially when they're early in their careers, they don't have much experience. There are these mistakes that are consistent across the board for directors or producers, etc. And, you're just sitting on set and you're like, well, they better figure it out. My lighting set, I don't know what their problem is.
It's not my bad.
So you just watch them sweat out, and you kind of, like, in the back of your head, you create this sort of like checklist of don't do that.
What were some of the most common mistakes that you would see?
Honestly, there was one that I did when I was in grad school. I really realized I made my thesis film. It was really expensive. I'd rather not say how expensive.
Is it part of the interest?
It's all borrowed money.
No.
Yeah. And I think I'll tell you. It's like, I think in the end it was like $45,000 to finish it, and that is all
out of pocket.
No, it's just all loans. It's still right now. You can almost hear it.
That's what that sounds.
Yeah, like, why does that guy make that sound everywhere he goes?
And it keeps speeding up over time.
Getting louder and louder. So I'd seen people do this one thing, and I think it's like the biggest mistake, and it's the most consistent. It's the most frequent I've ever seen, is engaging in a project before you're prepared to. And sort of like shoehorning everything else around an idea of, we need to do this now for whatever rationale you've come up with. That is hands down the first domino that ends at a production that doesn't get distribution and will hang in the back of your head and your soul as the deepest regret of your career.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what does it, is people jumping too far ahead. You know, they get this idea of like, oh, I have to make this movie now. And it's like, well, really? Do you have what it takes to make your script? And that's like, as a below the line head of the department, you go in and you say, okay, yeah, man, I read your script and this is what we need. And they're like, oh, God, we can't afford that. And you're like, I didn't write your script.
Yeah.
I'm your gaffer. I have no script editing options, buddy. I'm telling you what you need to make your script. And their position was like, well, we had to find a way around that. It's like, no, dude, you needed to think about what you needed before you jumped in towards production. And that's the thing that I see, because that's that, like I said, that's that first domino. It starts just forcing your hand all over the place through the entire process. You're constantly making compromises to compensate for that one misjudgment. Mm-hmm. That's it. I mean, that's like the primary one that I would warn everybody against. And like another part of it is like, that goes backwards too, though. You can say like, okay, well, we can't raise that much money. Go back to the script, boil it down, cook it down, like figure out a way of addressing the theme or the character flaw or that need and want in a different way that you can actually achieve.
Get rid of the flying car.
Get rid of the goddamn flying car.
Not the flying car.
Get
It's essential to
But
the
it's the
Get
essence of
rid
it.
of the night exterior walk and talk that
can't
goes
have-
across 7 pages.
Yes.
Get rid of that.
But there's no character arc.
Yeah.
Christopher, tell us about your experience in film.
Well, I made some of the classic screw-ups that young black men make in America. I went into corporate law instead of going into acting or film because I thought it was all over. By the time I graduated from college, I thought I was done. So I went down onto Wall Street and drove myself crazy for about 8 years. And then my mom called me up and she was like, you're get out. Just like the devil, get out. And I did. So I came to it very late. I didn't start acting until I was 36. And just hit it as hard as I could. And I think
Now, what was it about acting that you got into? Like, did you always want to get
always
into
wanted to
acting?
do it. Always wanted to do it. But I had that sort of East Coast thought of, if you're not on the road to Juilliard by the time you're 14, you have missed that bus, and you might as well now you do something else. So I thought law. I was going to be a entertainment lawyer. I worked on Wall Street. I worked over at Sony Pictures, and I worked at Sony Music. If you want to do this, you have to do this. So I went into my boss's office and I quit. I retired about 12 years ago.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Isn't it the weirdest thing though? Like where like you realize you're like, I have to do this, and then you kind of go like, you're like, well, what does that require? And it, like essentially what it requires is you have to sit down at a chair and desk that it was the least expensive one at Office Max, crammed into some corner of wherever you live, and you sort of have to like hunker down and turn that into your world.
Yes.
Like it's
Yes.
just nothing about nothing else than like breaking rocks. You have to adopt that mentality of like, well, I just break rocks until there's enough broken rock. Like that's all there is to it. And there's nothing about it there's nothing that feels good.
You're making everything from whole cloth. One of the key things I think, particularly as an actor, the idea is to kick open the door and be confident that the rest of your career will be kicking open the door over and over again. As long as you're comfortable doing that for the rest of your career, then you're good. Then this all of a sudden becomes paradise, even though it's, topsy-turvy. You don't know which way it's going to
but it's
come.
like the saying, if you can't see yourself doing anything else, you shouldn't be doing anything else.
Exactly. Or what I always say, what would you rather fail at than succeed at anything else? And I'd rather wind up my life being a failed actor or creator or storyteller than an infinitely successful corporate lawyer. Tough to get those words out of my mouth even these days. So that's what I did, and I was good enough to meet folks like Justin, and the people that you meet, that's really what will enable your career to work.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. It is very much about your world, your people. I think it's fair to say that you have to sort of build up and you have to collect, favor banks with everyone. You got to do the less pleasant things, the less glamorous things that sometimes you go like, really, man, is it anymore? Yeah, that's worth it. I mean, because like some you don't even know how. You just don't know how. You just got to like build with people and just and be good with people and also recognize the people who are never going to do anything for you and let them go as soon as you can.
And I
pretty
mean,
good.
I mean, not in the sense of like, you know, they have to do something for you, but in the sense that like they don't understand the concept of repaying debts. They don't understand that you're giving them something. There's a lot of people in this industry that just walk around with such an amazing sense of entitlement that they don't understand that what you've given them.
The only takers.
our film had 3 actors. Predominantly, I was on set, but 17 crew. And it worked like a well-oiled machine. I have been on tons of film, tons of television, tons of commercial shoots, and that set ran as well as or better than any I've ever seen.
Oh, nice. How did
And
you
that's
guys-
that's his all. That's
Oh, Justin?
17 of those favors coming together in 2 days.
how did you guys meet?
A friend of ours, a mutual friend, Scott, he put us together. We all barbecue pretty regularly on Sundays, which was exactly where the idea, our friend Scott who put us together, came up with the idea for the film. And
Oh, hilarious.
We should stop and say that at the time, Scott's only relationship to Hollywood is that he's a PhD anthropologist who specializes in the study of culture within the Hollywood system.
Yes.
Not
Really?
like- yeah.
That's very, very specific.
yes.
Right?
So he actually wrote the book. In fact, Scott and I became friends because I was sort of on my own trying to figure out how to make this work. And I could sit with him at our favorite bar, Formosa, and say, I'm doing this, this, and this. And he, of course, has studied the industry. He's like, that's the way it works. Even though you may not be getting paid, you're on the right road. So he was the one. We were barbecuing. There may have been whiskey involved. I can't remember clearly. And
Say it's a good
There should always be
50-50.
whiskey involved.
yeah. Some of my best ideas come from that idea. And he leaned back and he was like, man, every time I see a movie with a hitman, you see him there and the guy comes through the door and he's sitting, he's ready. What does he do before that?
Doing that whole time. Like, how? What the?
I don't know if I left the barbecue immediately at that moment, but I was just like, that's a script.
He said it. He Woody said it, and this is the worst part. This part I totally fessed to this. Like, this is not the first time Scott had said this, and like such a dick. I was like, he says it. And Woody's like, that's a great short. And I'm like, oh fuck, it is.
But I had never made a film before, so I knew I wanted Justin to direct it. And I figured it was going to be, because I sort of make my bones in comedy, there's a ton of improv, yada, yada. We do an outline, and I do this or do that. And the truly interesting part of giving Justin the script and him just saying, no, this is locked. This is a story we're going to tell. This is not a few yucks that we're going to throw up on wherever. We're going to make this a
Beginning,
story.
middle, end. But before we go on with that, let's actually introduce the film. The film is Time to Kill. If you guys want to give us a brief synopsis and then maybe a link to where our listeners can go watch it before we dive more into spoilers.
Yes, it is the story of what a hitman does while he waits for the mark to get home, because we thought you won't know exactly. These are kind of questionable characters that you're waiting for, so it could be any time during that night, and you have to kill that time. And unfortunately for our character, Harris, that gives him a lot of time to contemplate the joy of his life and realize his desire perhaps to get out of it. So that's what the film explores.
You can go see it for free.
For free.
Totes free, guys. It's at vimeo.com/979-588-53. Again, that's 979-588-53.
Hey, Mom. I was in the bathroom. It's because I had to use it yesterday as well. Nope, everything's fine. Mom, things are great. Nope. Things are great. I just haven't met anyone. Well, I'm sure we would all enjoy that, but it doesn't matter, because I haven't met anyone. Mom, I haven't met anyone. I do so have friends.
Chris picked up on the idea being such a good idea for a short. And the minute he says it, my brain goes like, oh, man. Let me tell you something, dude. Good ideas for shorts, few and far between. So many of them. I don't know how many festivals you guys attend. I've attended more than I can count. Screenings and festivals. You see a lot of pitch pieces. That's the majority of what you see at short screenings. Is like, people.
It doesn't feel completed. It feels like it wants to be.
It's a pitch. It's a pitch for a feature or a TV show, and it's understandable because it's like, what do people watch all the time? As far as like, they are watching TV shows and movies, and so like their concept of storytelling, the way they think of stories, has to fit into like, you need this much time to play it out. So when they try and do that as a short, it ends up much more as like a what if kind of posed question to the audience. Some people do it on purpose. Other people do it kind of by accident. When he picked up on the idea that would be a great idea for a short, I was like, wow. But I'll be honest with you, I thought we were going to be a much less sophisticated project. And then he gave me the script, the first draft of the script, and I read the first draft of the script, and that changed my concept of what we were going to do. I was figuring, HDSLR, borrow a boom mic and an XLR cable, and, get a China ball. That's it. That's all we're going to do.
That's what I was thinking, too.
He was thinking that. And then he writes this script and he sends it to me. And this script is so, honestly, I was conceiving of this as like this whole thing where it was like a series of gags. That's where in my head, I'm like, it's this series of gags of a guy waiting and things driving him nuts, Whereas he wrote this story where you really start learning about this person. And you learn about this like fundamental theme that's, in his life of there's, everything's on hold because of his work. And it's something that I completely empathize with, and I think a lot of people do. And it was so much more about a character, and it had so much more like heart in it than I thought it was going to before I saw a script, that then my concept of the production changed. And I started thinking, this script deserves to be done well, because if this is done well, people will watch it and enjoy it.
Well, congrats, because it was done well.
Thank
really
you.
Good, really good.
Thank you.
So, Christopher, talk about the writing process of writing the whole script and then passing it on to Justin, and where it developed and grew from the final script was the production script.
It was interesting because I think I was in the same mode that Justin was in. I had done one draft that had more yucks in it, and my friend said, I think you have the kernel of some heart here. So I went back again, and that's when I started viewing the characters the same way that I viewed myself, frankly, as a corporate lawyer. We spend all hours of the night alone in our office. So I said, that is actually extraordinarily painful. And I went down that route. And it was curious, when we were on set, I finished the script. Justin put some brilliant tweaks in it, really shaping it, and more importantly, locking it. So all concepts for myself to improv were out. It's like, dude, you have now a Bible, and we need you to deliver that Bible. And when I was sitting on set, and our production designer, Danica Vallone, who's a genius, I said, Danica, what brought you onto the script? And she said, I just had to tell this heartbreaking story. And I was like, which story? I mean, when did my story get to be heartbreaking? And then you look at it and you realize what you're going through. You're like, oh yeah, that's where we are now.
So it's a little therapeutic.
Yeah, I mean, it was, but it also showed me how everyone says in Hollywood making a movie is collaborative. It's not a big enough word. I mean, you just see people taking your story and running with it.
Absolutely.
So you say, hey, I have this idea. And they go, yep, I understand it, but what you want is over there. And he understands it, but what he wants is going to be over there. And it's just and it moves and moves and gets better and better. So much better than anything that I imagined or would have done myself.
So, talk about playing the character of Harris. The one thing I liked about the movie a lot, too, is not only that we understand the character Harris by his actions for waiting for the mark, but we also get a sense of Shecky by just his house. And how
That's Danica Vallone.
That's Danica.
That's Danica.
Yeah.
24 hours. Was it 24 hours we didn't have a production designer?
No, we had it. We got her. Production design was the hardest part of this. Absolutely. Lead into production. I mean, we pushed a couple times, but we almost pushed again. And Chris actually put his foot down. He's like, "No, we got to do it. We got to do it." So we had like maybe a week and a half where we like lost our most recent production designer, and we were desperate to find one. And Chris,
I was on the Santa Monica steps, and I saw this guy, a fellow actor, and he's always talking. So I said, he may know, dude, I need a production designer. And he said, you need Danica Valone. I felt like I was in a spy movie. Get Danica Valone. She's an artist. And she transformed.
Yeah.
I mean, she made the scene a third character.
Let's put this in perspective, okay? We gutted the entire floor of the apartment that I lived in, and still do live in. Gutted it, took everything out, and rebuilt everything from scratch. It was an empty canvas. She tore it down, and I'm talking like we got her Sunday night. We were shooting the next Saturday morning.
Oh, wow.
Okay, it was a 5-day turnaround. She brought in a whole crew. I mean, top to bottom.
Yep.
And they, we pushed everything that we couldn't use outside, and we brought in everything that we needed, and like it was just repainted the walls and da 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 da. And the concept is the apartment's a character, so you have to really create this character. And that the painting on the wall is hers.
That's
It was
hers.
original.
Oh, really?
She did it just for us.
It's amazing.
It's one of those things where you're like, your keys are critical, and anybody who doesn't utilize their keys to their utmost is cheating themselves.
I meet a lot of actors that want to do their own stuff, and that's great. But the more hyphens I hear, the more worried I get. And the reason is not because you can't be a jack of all trades. You need people to say no. You need people to say no with authority, and also be able to lead you down a different path.
Yeah, because you're too close to it. So you're kind of a little blinded by it.
I think the first thing I brought Justin, because we had worked together, I had a conceptual idea for a trailer for a feature that I was doing. So I wanted him to shoot it. And I said, no, it's going to be like this. Camera's going to be here, and it's just going to come back out of the character, and you're going to have this voiceover. And he's like, yep, I got it exactly, except for it's the reverse. I mean, he essentially made the opposite. And he's like, it just told me what you're thinking is not what you're saying. And I'm going to tell you what you're thinking. And that happens
pitch it back
with
at somebody. You
each
just be like, okay, we
level.
can do that, but if we did this instead, it would have this effect. Would that be more to your liking?
Yeah, it's not someone saying, I know you want to make a ghost story, but maybe we should make a mystery. It's more, I know you want to
do it, you're like, are they going to sock me right in the face? Man? You're like, you got to brace for it, dude, because you never know when you're going to run over just somebody's emotions.
Well, that's why you pick your people. Well, you pick the people who you will allow to say no to you. And I think the farther you go along that line where you can't have people, I bet you your work gets worse. Maybe more personally satisfying to you. You may be able to finally do that dog movie with no dialogue or, those long shots. But I think it's just you need people to say, no, do this. That's where you do your best work. Those are the kind of things if you're just coming into this new, you're going to miss it. In fact, you'll miss it for your whole career if you don't arm yourself with the right people.
That's where producers come in real handy. I mean, that's the thing is like you know those like you see in movies where there's like the cops who never want to go up and become an officer,
right?
Because they love the street. There's producers like that. You need them. On bigger productions, they're called like line producers or unit production managers. But down in the independent world, you're just a freaking producer. That's what it is. And, it's the people who can, like, send emails while driving super fast and are, like, like...
Gods at multitasking.
Yeah, like, gods of multitask. And also understand the concept of, like, thinking on their feet. I think that's, like, the primary thing with pretty much anybody who works on set consistently, like, for any period of time. They're all the kind of people who excel at solving puzzles quickly without stopping what they're already doing.
And we had that with Cindy.
Yeah, we got Cindy Hong, and she's just sort of a natural. Like, I met her when she was still a PA, and I was like, you got to be my producer.
Yep.
Awesome. We'll continue talking about the film process and talk about any challenges you guys faced while filming, besides losing your production designer.
And by losing production designers, I mean, like, we lost 7 or 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it was a blessing in disguise.
It was.
I mean, it's the best thing that
it
ever
doesn't
happened
feel
to
like
us.
that until you get the last one, bro. It feels like there's a gypsy curse on us. We were trimming challenges away as much as we could. Let's keep it internal.
Yep.
You know, let's keep it interior. You're like, at one point, we do
Right.
go outside.
The listeners, you should have watched the movie already, so you can give spoilers away now.
Okay, all right, yeah. So, you know, we've got basically two exteriors. One is going out into the porch for briefly, you know, like when he shoots the
noob.
Astroglide into the door lock.
Yeah.
This is genius.
But that was, you know, that scene was actually a problem solve from script to production. It was one of those moments where I was trying very hard to keep my hands off of the script. I only wanted to give Chris notes because we had done this project previously where we'd done this shoot for this teaser, and it was a very technical project. And he had asked me to help him shoot it because I understood technicalities, and he knew that I understood technicalities of shooting. So the whole thing was based off of like one piece of stock footage. We were turning it into a dolly shot. We were going to shoot an exterior front plate and then mat them together and then turn a lock off into the background of a moving shot. So you're changing lens dynamic and lens effect and doing all these things that are very, very technical.
We made a jungle in the North Hollywood candle wax factory.
Yeah,
that
was what we did.
That's the non-technical way. We shot a jungle. It was still one of my best favorite things that I just stood around because I wasn't even in it. I was just watching Justin work his magic, but I was like, this is going to be a jungle.
So it does get back to one of your questions. Like one of the giant dodges that I pulled off was I realized from that I didn't write it, and directing something that I didn't write, like just moving it even an incredibly technical thing that were like, I wasn't involved with like dealing with the actor very much. You know what I mean? It was such a relief to not be responsible to the script. I was responsible to the movie. I was responsible to the finished product. I don't have this sort of like emotional attachment to the words on the page. And so I would, you know, go up to Chris and I'd be like, hey man, like, what do you think about this? So I had that experience. And one of the biggest things that I got away from when we did this is as soon as the script process started, I was like, I'll give you some notes and then I'm going to walk the hell away. So again, we got to the point where I think it was the night before we started shooting. It was Friday night.
Yeah.
And there was this part in the script that's not in the movie where there was instead of the door banging, you know, you hear the door creaking and banging.
Right.
There was a branch that was blowing in the wind, and it was hitting the door. And the logistics were as such that there aren't any trees close enough.
Right.
And so my production designer and my director of photography call me out onto the porch, and they're like, yeah, there's this thing in the script. And like, how are we supposed to do this? Do we go get a branch? We just cut off a tree? How are we supposed to see that when we look through the window? Da 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 da. And it was just like, yeah, that doesn't work. That just doesn't work. I see your point. You guys are delivering it in the most like politically kind way, but you're like, it doesn't work, guys. So it was, you know, a moment where you just spitball. You just go like, okay, well, what do we have? We have a door. Doors creak.
Yep.
It looks like a crappy enough, old enough door.
Yeah.
Sure, why not? And the bolts frozen. You know, everything else is so dirty and sticky, and it feels like chlamydia.
Anything to use lube on set, right?
And the key is, by the time we're doing this, I've pulled out of writing mode. I'm in actor mode. So whatever they say goes. It's fortunate that you don't get, oh my God, I've always dreamed of that tree. Because otherwise, the movie may not even get made. I mean, you may spend so much time, energy, and resources trying to have this one little thing, and it doesn't even get you. And then you miss stumbling on lube, and you always got to stumble on lube.
Yeah. And I mean, like, come on, man. Like, it's one of those things where, like, it's the night before we start shooting. And again, this is why I bring up the whole writing and directing thing as separate entities, like, and how that was actually, for me, probably the biggest bullet dodge of all. You know, it led to giving me the freedom to say, like, why don't we change it? There's another moment that we were preparing for. It was the valise of homemade porn, all the burned DVDs, you know, hog tie and all that stuff.
Crying and
Well, you guys didn't get to see all of them, but every single one of those was named after a member of the crew. And they were all themed around what sort of awful, awful thing had happened during that particular sex session.
amazing.
So there's a moment where he was supposed to like... So funny because we shot part of it and then we were just like, fuck it, we've only shot one shot, we'll just throw it away. And then our editor ends up using it. It's great. We were like, no, that's just garbage. He's like, no, it's not. Look. We're like, right, you are. That's why you're the editor. And so, yeah, there was just a moment where Chris was like, you know, if I'm here and why am I going over here to do this thing? And you know, we're all on set. We're getting ready to shoot the shot. It's just like, well, why are you? You know, like it gave me the ability to just throw it right back. Why are you? It's your character.
Yeah.
You are this person. Why are you doing that? And he gave me the honest answer. I don't think I am. And I was like, then we're not shooting it.
Yep.
Cut. It's cut.
And we're moving to the
That's
next
one of those things where you're just like, I'm not married to this. I'm here to make the movie. I'm not here. I mean, I'm responsible for the second draft of the movie. The editor is responsible for the final draft of the movie.
Although Justin did say, he was saying, well, I was here to be the director. I don't have to worry about this script or the actors. I'll tell you how he handled the actor since I was the actor. So I had never, I've been in a ton of productions, but I'm never the star. I'm the guest star, I'm the co-star, I'm what have you. So this is the first time where every single time it's like cut and they're like, oh, I'm going to go. No, you're in the next scene. So you're getting a little tired. And I need a certain amount of water or I'll shake. My hands will start rattling like this. And I have a ton of scenes where I have to hold a gun rock steady.
Right.
So I'm getting plenty of water in the first part of it. And then I don't even realize the water's been cut off. The supply's just been chopped as we're headed to the scene where Justin wants a quiver. So by the time we shoot
By the way,
that scene,
it was
my
super
hands are
nice
like,
and cool inside of our apartment, sealed off.
and understand, I'm in a suit with
Yes.
t-shirt and coat, and sure enough, you know, the water supply had been cut off, and he gets the jiggle right there. I'm trying every bit I could. I don't realize there's this Machiavellian plan. No, deny him water. Deny him water. Just a little bit more. I think I see it. I see it. Yep, that's what I want. That's what I want. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. Just have some on reserve. So that's
true.
that's the
I
advantage.
felt like it looked good. I didn't want to be mean to him. I was like,
It was
that
for the
might
art.
really look
It was
good.
for the art.
That
It might
is-
really look good.
That is the advantage of having a director that knows you. It's like Justin
Advantage
coaching me in
indeed, yes.
basketball and saying, you know, that guy said you probably aren't black or something. But you don't even think about that. You forget about that. You just go play ball. Oh, that was a tough shot by Wood.
Well, talk about the other people involved in the.
Oh,
in
God,
this, in-
please.
In the film, the actor who played Checky, and you guys acted with the dog.
Yeah.
How was that?
Well, I'll talk about
Whose dog was
Shecky.
that?
Shecky.
Please
Justin
talk about
can tell-
Shecky because, like, I feel like he's the unheralded hero.
Yes, Shecky came in. He was brilliant.
His real name is
Deacon.
Deacon Ledges. Deacon Ledges is also a phenomenal singer in the Freedom Ledges, one of the better bands. You should go see him. And just the picture of him, well, I don't know if he's proud of this or not, but Danica took a look at his picture, and that's where that apartment came from. So that's interesting what people see when they see you.
That is hilarious.
He was an actor when I first, even before, I think I saw him act before I decided to become an actor, and he was known as a guy that was great. And I had told Justin, I said, we need to bring someone in. Justin's like, well, we need someone we can trust. And he was the guy that could come in, I knew,
Such
and
an
just
unforgiving.
boom
It's
it.
it's an unrewarding role. It's a real. I mean, it's one of those roles where, like, number one, playing intoxicated is 50% of most actors can't do it.
Yep.
And playing as like a hangover intoxication, you come in, you deliver what, 2-3 lines, and you're done on a short.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, every actor's like, fuck, I hope I
That's
get
their
that
dream.
phone call tomorrow morning.
and to be able to get one of the best guys I know is, I mean, it was huge. And also it settles the set, because you're not, usually when you have a role like that, you're like, whatever, give it to anyone. And then you have that anxiety as they come in, you
And
know,
they don't fit with the-
scuba gear, and they say, I have a new idea for the role. I mean, that's when you're like, oh no. So when you get a strong horse like Deacon, I mean, that really makes.
It's great.
makes
He
it better.
adjusted, like, I mean, turned on a dime. He took actor adjustments like this. I literally, like, at a certain point, I realized this guy was just like, he's a fast mover. He's totally experienced.
He has a lot of tricks
his
in his
ego
bags.
isn't invested in this one role. He's not freaking out over this one role being it for him. He knows he's going to work again. So he was able to take adjustments, and it literally came down to the point where, like, I just started adjusting what kind of drugs and what kind of sex he'd had the night before, and he would change his performance based on those factors.
That's
I would just give him new
amazing.
factors of, like, I'm like, okay, so this is what you did. You know, it was really good, but now your inflammation's back, and go. And he was awesome.
Yeah.
And then he came in and redid.
Yeah, we did reshoots.
We did audio. We did ADR back at the apartment, though. It's the best rendition. You're going to get the same reverb qualities, yada, yada. And I think those were way crueler.
Yeah.
Way
Yeah.
crueler. You know, him sliding down the wall.
Yeah.
That's an ADR.
Oh, really?
And we realized
nice.
in the post that we were like, he really should be saying something. You know, because like that shot, and the shot past the pizza box.
Yeah.
You know, you got like him walking in. That was all done as a single. That was all done as a oneer. So it's like the rack focus starts with him at the door. It's like it racks from the dog to the door, back to the dog, back to the pizza box. Pip pip, shells fall, hit the pizza box, leaves him soft. And that was part of my plan for the beginning because I didn't want gore and death to be. They're really not the point.
And we didn't have
You know
the
what
money
I mean,
to do it
you know,
right.
like, you know, essentially getting rid of this person is kind of like wiping your nose.
Right.
You know, nobody's gonna miss this guy. He's
The world
a
got
scumbag.
just a little bit better.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Sunshine.
I smell flowers today and birds. They're just beautiful. Anyways, so yeah, so like, you know, we didn't want to like, you know, no squid. I mean, people were offering me like, hey man, I know this guy who's got great squid packs. We could no. So yeah, but the ADR, like, you know, I had him leaning against the door frame and sliding down and like holding his breath and then delivering the line because like I was just trying to get the right sound of like somebody who's had, you know, 1 or 2 slugs in their chest and they're saying, you know, the toilet seat's up. As their final
line
words.
is just hilarious. So good.
Shecky's final.
So he was great. I mean, that was the thing is Chris brought him in.
You know, if Justin knows 17 crew guys who know that stuff, the one advantage, or should be an advantage as an actor, is you should know the people that can throw down. Particularly since I had raised the money, I had gotten it from investors that I knew, and you want to give them a final product. You want to do good work so maybe you can go back, or at least so they're saying, look what I made. You're thinking about that, so you need horses that can run and not get flustered, not be thrown, and he delivered.
Yeah, Deacon was. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, this is an awesome opportunity for us telling you guys because nobody will know. Nobody will ever know, except for this moment, that Deacon was one of those Hail Marys. Like, there's one of those things where it's like when you really get blessed in a moment.
Yep.
Deacon is one of those blessings.
Yeah.
But, you know,
And
sorry.
thankfully to the what is it? Who got us? Air Canada.
Oh, Air Canada.
Air Canada licensed us. We were able to pay our actors.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
yes, indeed, yes,
That's the
indeed. So I
The one
said-
thing they tell you in film school relentlessly, nobody's ever going to give you 1 red cent for a short. Just erase it from your hope list.
Deacon
Take that, USC.
Yeah.
Deacon got a meager check from me for his daily work. I loved it.
Would you guys like to know about the dog?
Yeah.
Oscar Lip was, he is now living in a French chicken rotisserie restaurant in heaven. Oscar has left us, but he must be running through golden fields and barking and chasing and having a great time. Oscar was the dog of our roommate's brother.
Oh.
And we would take care of him sometimes. And he's the best. He's just like the best dog. He has so much personality. He's so chill. And he'll do anything for chicken. So that's pretty much the only tool we needed. We pet him to keep him chill out and staying in a position. And the minute we needed him to come forward and do something, we offer him a little piece of chicken. We didn't even need to cue him for the door opening and looking back. That dog's
really?
a natural.
Dog had his lines.
He
down.
would look.
He just
look back.
hit his mark
Oh,
every single
you?
time.
And then
And the just that natural stillness. It was like
So no over barking, no growling.
not
no
once.
no,
nothing. It
just a cool ass dog being a cool ass dog.
And that's a regular sized living room with equipment and 15 to 16 people running around, and
Lights.
he stays that calm.
He's just chill. That's it's everything you don't see in that room is just packed to the walls with people like this, or they're down in the garage trying to like quietly sip some soda.
So congratulations, you guys won the other Venice Film Festival Award for Most Excellent Short Film and the SoCal Film Festival for Achievement in International Filmmaking. Talk about
And Muñoz, actually. Yeah.
We also won for Best Short at the Boomtown Film Festival
awesome.
in Texas.
Congrats.
Very psyched about that. Unfortunately, I didn't get down there. We sent a bumper film down there, a bumper short, which is an introduction by the filmmaker. And also, our genius cinematographer was in the SoCal Independent Film Festival, where we won.
Nominated.
He was nominated for Best Cinematography against features.
All the features in that
nice.
festival.
Against features.
Amazing.
Michael Pessa.
So that is the reason, and I just showed this film to a friend of mine, and that is the reason why it looks so good. I've learned a lot since then. I've actually made one more film, but I looked back and I was like, wow, this really looks good. I mean, and that's seeing.
It's also well acted.
Well, yeah, I hung in there. I did not screw it up. But that's to have Michael Pessa there, and that's why I think it's and a lot of the reviews there. I've listed them out on IMDb more than once. I think about 3 times. Reviewers have said we want to see this in a feature, and not because we were writing it as a pitch for a feature, but more because just the look is what we want more.
But the story is so interesting.
Yep.
And it's not, you don't really see that ever.
It's one of those things where, like, yeah, I used to be gaffer a lot. That was how I made most of my living for those 5 years after grad school. My last 2 years, actually, I was Michael Pessa's gaffer for a lot of his shoots, and we met just happenstance, and we worked on an incredibly technically challenging film that did really well in the film festival circuits. It was a short called Conversations About Cheating with My Time-Traveling Future Self.
Wow.
By Pornsak Pinchote. And I highly recommend you watch this movie, not just to promote my gaffing work, which I'm done with, but it's an incredible concept for a short, and it's so well executed. You'll love it. But yeah, I met Michael Pessa on set. I started working with him on this one shoot that was, I won't get into it, but it was challenging. And we did it. We did it. And that was the thing. It was like it was a really great first experience, and we kept working together. And we found that for the two of us, we happened to speak the same language really, really easily. Like, we would, aesthetics, technicalities, yada, 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 and storytelling. Like, we actually both care about storytelling. There's a lot of people who work in technical that sort of don't.
Right.
So
But that's cool. You found someone that you can vibe with and also grow with.
So I asked him, it was a crazy thing. Again, it was like one of those things where, like, my cinematographer that I was going to go with, I lost, and it was a Hail Mary, man, because, like, at that point, Michael Pessa's career had really taken off. He's doing very well for himself. He's shooting features and TV shows now, and I said, Michael, let me send you the script, and you're not going to offend me if you say no, okay? I understand. You're fucking awesome. And he was super cool, and he was just like, yeah, let's do this, man. He brought a crew in. He got a camera for freaking next to nothing. He, and he came in and he did it. You got him working with Danica Vallone. And, he comes in and he did a thing that I really believe in. And we came up with a very distinct strategy of, like, how we're going to use the camera to tell part of the story. So we start, long lens at this relationship to eye level of the character. And then we progress through different beats in the storyline. The camera is used in different ways until a point where you pretty much come into the inverse of, like, where the camera's close up with wide angle lenses. And you get this, like, real intimacy with the actor where you see, like, in the phone conversations towards the end, you're really in there. And these are things that, like, Michael Pessa and I were standing in the middle of chaos as production design is still building the apartment, and we're trying to come up with these highfalutin ideas. And that's, like, one of those things you get with really good collaborators, is they're willing to, like, put up with that level of BS and still commit to having something quality come out on the other side of it. So yeah, and then you get other, it doesn't end on set. You've got, so we had Danica and Michael, and they're sort of like a duet on set. You can't shoot anything if there's nothing to shoot. So you've got the feel of that apartment being Shecky, You're on set.
in the
You're like,
environment.
you're like, yeah, Shecky's soul is dripping on us right now.
Literally,
Yeah,
there's things dripping off the walls.
Oh God, it's in my eye. So like you're there with them on set, and you've got Woody, and he's delivering this performance that he's worked so hard on, like crafting in the story, and it just comes out, and it was so easy to shoot him. It's just so easy to shoot him. And there's so much coverage. I just dropped. I'm like, we don't need another angle. What am I going to cut to? Not that? No.
It was a lot of long shots, and I was like, all of that in one?
I'm like, yep, moving on.
And we're moving. And we did a lot, I think, because we didn't have extra time at the end. So
how long was the shoot?
2 days.
2 days.
2 days.
We got out of both days under 12, including wrapping the entire apartment out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You could have shot it in one, but it would have been like, a 14 to 16 hour one, which is, if
one wants
you're not
that.
paying people,
And it starts to
cannot
affect,
do that.
people start to go, and when is this over? And
Yeah.
and that's what the work product does. I mean, I'm telling you, the set
You don't want to piss anyone off either.
No, you're like, oh, thanks for that favor. Now that I've wrenched even more out of you.
But the cool thing is, it's such. I think about that crew, and Justin knows them intimately. It's such a good crew that if someone came along, you could say, if someone said, "Hey, here's the money, do 6 more," you don't even have to sit around and go, "Okay, now how do we do it?"
Yeah.
You're like, "Boom, all right."
Call them if
got
they're
it.
not available. I know 2 or 3 other people, but like then you get into post, and post is a really interesting experience as well. I mean, if you don't mind.
No,
Yeah. So okay, I had my editor set up ahead of time. He was a gentleman named Jack Price. Love him. He is an excellent. But I mean this. Jack Price is an excellent director and an excellent editor, and he really brings a distinct sense of commitment to storytelling with him from both of those perspectives. And on top of that, the notes. He's one of those people that gives you notes that are like worth Krugerrants. You just want to hand him money when he talks to you because you're like, oh my God, I never thought about it that way. Thank you for talking to me.
Now here's a check.
Yeah, please always work with me. So Jack came in, and like we always had this goal of like, look, I've tried to do festivals before and failed utterly, and a big part of it is like the fact that festival programmers are building programs. Like that's their job, is to build a program. You can't give them this ungainly monster that they could never possibly make any sort of like, you can't frame around a 23-minute long short. Framing even around a 15-minute short and keeping the pace going, moving from short to short to short for an hour and a half, that's a hard-ass job they have. Don't make it harder on them.
Right.
That's a piece of advice. I would really, if you haven't made a short before, trust me, take this to heart. If you're doing something more than 5 minutes, it damn well better be amazing at exactly 10 minutes after credits. Give the programmers a reason to like your film. Give them something that's like, okay, that's 10 minutes. It's not 10 minutes and 38 seconds. It's 10 minutes
Solid.
tight. And your credits are not 2 minutes of that 10 minutes. Bang, 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 we're out. It's not about forcing people to watch your credits. Give respect to the people who are worked on your movie, but you're going to talk about them and you're going to like put their name up on IMDb and stuff. It's not about just the credit roll. Honestly, like it's just like, get it done, get them like official, make it official. But like that's all you're doing is make it official. Don't make people watch this lengthy credit roll. And so Jack helped me, and I had to kill a baby. He made me kill a baby. There was a shot.
Please tell. Did you say kill a baby?
I went through hell to get this shot too. That's the worst part. There was a shot when Harris first enters the apartment, and he's kind of, walking through and, like, is he here? Is he here? He's walking through, and he kind of walks in and he walks out and he sits down. You guys didn't see any of that.
No.
So we had this one where Harris walks into the apartment, and it's like from when he walks into the door, we cut to this sort of side. And so we see that whole side of the apartment, and we kind of pan with him, center framed, as he walks to the kitchen, checks the kitchen. No, then he walks back and he walks to the hallway, which you guys haven't seen. There's a hallway, and there's a stairwell on the left, and there's a doorway on the right. He looks around, and he goes up the stairs. As soon as he disappears up the stairs, the dog slinks out of the bathroom and goes downstairs. Then Harris comes down from upstairs, hasn't seen or heard the dog at all, and goes and sits and starts waiting. So the audience would have been aware that the dog was in the place the whole time, and they would have been waiting and wait. It's that little extra bit of tension that you want. But I shot her in a oneer, like a dick. And the clock's just, and you're like, nope, you just can't do it. Couldn't do it. Pacing wise, you couldn't do it. There wasn't enough to cut to stitch together. It was like the one place in the entire thing where like I should have covered it more, and I wanted to cover it more, but on the day, the dog was only available for this many hours.
Right. Yep.
And it was a really, really, really hard shot to get put together in and of itself. And by the time we got it, and nailed the timing, we're out of time. We lost a dog. So it was one of those things. You're just like, well, that's what we got. And the editor is like, "Did you want 10 minutes or not, buddy?" Yeah. And you're like, I want people to see it. It comes down to that decision. It's like you keep your baby in there and nobody watches your movie, or you get rid of the baby and people watch your movie. Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, like, what matters to you most?
Getting it watched.
I mean, the whole point of art is to have a conversation with your audience. Like, you're it's a back and forth. You don't want to like just you don't want to sit in a room and talk to the wall. You want to talk with people. And so Jack, I worked with him a lot, trying to find that balance between like real-time boring and movie boring, and keeping the pacing at a point where like you felt Harris's pain, but not like you weren't sitting there in the movie theater going, "When is this over?" And then sound. I actually called an old professor from USC, a cat named David Bondalevich.
Yep.
Beast.
Brilliant.
His nickname at USC was the Sound Nazi.
Really? Oh, that's hilarious.
He is a stickler. I mean, the guy takes his work seriously, and he's excellent. I called him because I knew he was at a new university over in Denver. He's teaching there. He's got students. He's kind of high up in that program. So I thought, I'll call David. I'll ask him if he knows any students who might be interested in mixing this. Or maybe some old USC kids that he's still in touch with who'd be like, they might do it. So I sent it to him. I asked him the question. I sent it to him, and then he's like, "I'll do it."
Really?
I was like, shocked.
That's
Shocking,
amazing.
shocking moment where you're like, whoa. When I was working with David Bondalevich, he's working out of Denver, right? And it's remote. I can't hear the mix. I just get it in files that he puts in Dropbox. Craziest thing, same thing with Brandon Vaccaro, our composer, is that where was he? He was even further away than Denver. Okay. So again, I'm working in a way I'd never worked before with my audio
Sending
mix.
it out.
I just send them the stuff, and then they're like, "Okay, this is the mix one." I don't get to sit in the room and be like, "Can we pull that down? Can we push that up? Can we do something where this is squishier, or that's more emotional?" Or I can't do any of that. I'm just sitting in a room listening to files alone, going, "It's pretty good." And then like David delivers the final mix. I'm like, Jesus, yeah. But Brandon Vaccaro, he'd won a huge award for, I think, LA Shorts the year before. And David put us in contact with him. He was like, "I know a composer." And Brandon, he just gave us some beautiful, beautiful stuff. And the thing is like, it was the funniest thing is like, once he saw the movie and he started doing the score for the yoga parts, that like, the sitar sounds totally became way bigger part of the whole rest of the score. It's kind of one of those things like you never see it coming, and then it's like boom, you're like, thanks, man. So again, it's like one of those things I would just encourage people, like, if you're kind of like used to working one way and you see an option for working another way, but it like makes you a little sick. You know what, man, live with being a little sick and try it. Just commit to it. I would say, like, if it gives you a chance to work with somebody that you otherwise wouldn't be able to, don't go the safe way. Take risks, especially for people. Commit to them. They know it. Even if they don't say it, they know you're taking a risk by doing something like that. David knew, but I was like, Jesus, it's a chance to work with David Bondalevich as my mixer. I'm doing it. So that's what I would encourage people to do. If there's a way where like you can work with somebody who you really want to work with, but it requires some other kind of risk, take it.
We had horses on this, and I called my friend of mine because I had sent the script to a friend of mine who I knew wanted to get into making stories, and I said, "Look, this is a cheap way to do it." He's a good, solid friend I've known for 25 years, so I emailed it out to him, and I don't hear anything. Which
totally
the way that
happens.
sounds
Totally
is
happens.
your screenplay is so awful I can't speak. That's how that's what you hear.
You're
even though
always
you're
waiting
hearing
for
nothing.
that reaction until somebody actually is done and somebody actually tells you, no, that was good. You're waiting for somebody to tell you the truth of like, I can't believe you showed this to me.
Yeah, and I'm sending that screenplay asking for essentially the total budget, and so at the last minute I get a reply back, and he's like, "Sorry, packed with the kids, read it, love the screenplay, I'm in." I mean, it was just the perfect. I won't get a better email than that, and I call him pretty regularly. And just say, listen, just so you know, I know this means nothing. These are horses that are running on your film. You really have the nuts to bolts. You've got to serve everyone right from your money. They have to know where, and maybe it's the old corporate lawyer in me, but you got to give them that oral prospectus where they know what the hell's going on and they know why each dollar matters. And we spent, I think I wrote an extra check, so we went $20 over.
When we had to do the DCP, that was the one that came out of the blue.
Oh, that was the additional marketing. But even on set that day, we got to within $20, which might have been the donuts, but that was worth it.
Really nice.
That's right. The post process was really, and this is one of those things where it's like I encourage people to take risks, even though it makes you kind of feel queasy inside, especially if you feel like you're used to doing it a certain way and you can't do it that way. David was an example of that. You get this offer, this excellent mixer. By the way, Danny Moorer, who was sort of like the key student, he brought in to do like a lot of like the initial design, a lot of the pre-mixes, small fiddles on dialogue. Cleaning the dialogue was important to us because we did not record this on a high quality. This is like no bullshit. This was a Zoom with an XLR on a boom, and the Zoom was attached to the boom pole, and it's all on set audio. Except for that ADR where we went back to the set. Yeah. This is like all cleaned in post by these guys.
Yeah, we have to wrap it up soon.
Okay.
Because you have to go to rehearsal. You have to go to the show.
I have a show. If I could plug it,
absolutely.
I'm in
How long does it run until?
It runs until the weekend of August 9th. I've done many plays in Hollywood, and I've enjoyed quite a few. This is the finest production I've ever been a part of. It's called Zulu Time, and it's about a racial conflict that takes place on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier during Vietnam off the coast of Los Angeles. And it is a heavy local Los Angeles historical piece that is brilliant. We have had some fantastic reviews, great crowds, and particularly if you're in the military, from what I'm seeing, you're going to love it because there's not a article of clothing on the stage that is not authentic.
Nice.
And it's some of the best young actors. There's 9 or 10 young guys, some of the best young actors I've ever had the privilege of working with.
What venue is it at?
At the Hudson Theater on Santa Monica Boulevard. Fridays 8 o'clock, Saturdays 8 o'clock, and Sundays at 3. So you can go there, and it'll be one of the best shows you've seen all year. Zulu Time.
What's next for Time to Kill? Are you guys going to enter more festivals? Are you guys going to adapt it to a feature?
I'm pushing hard. What I'd like to do, particularly since I have the crew that's up and ready to do it, I would love to do a bare minimum, well-financed web series of a series
Using
of these
Harris?
vignettes. Using Harris.
Nice.
Because I think we could do a great job with that. We obviously could do a great job with a feature. We are up for one last festival, which is NBC Universal.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, they actually, we find out
There's just so
on
many.
the 31st. That will be our last festival that we would be up for. We were in 813. So that will be our last festival. And so it's really a question of me having the right push and finding the right people to get some more of them made. But I would like to do...
Yeah, it's really back to zero again.
Back to the beginning.
You do all this work, and it's funny, like there's so much work after the movie's completely done. You're just... I mean, give yourself... I mean, it's a short movie. You are getting in bed to a minimum of 1.5 to 2.5 years of work. You're going to keep working. You're going to keep working at this. And it's going to be work you've never done before and have no idea how to do. and you gotta figure it out.
Yeah, and
You just gotta do it.
Promoting is you're just like, oh, how do people promote?
the advantage that I'm finding, and particularly in sending out, because we've got it online, we've got a lot of new reviews which are phenomenal, is that people like it, so that makes it a lot easier.
It's just getting it to people, like getting it out to people, like so that they're aware that it exists. That's the biggest challenge. Is like you're like, how the hell do I reach a potential audience? Just to say, hi, I exist. If you want to go watch me for free.
Just in case, why don't we give them that Vimeo link one last time?
It's vimeo.com/979-58853. It's one of those things is like you need to make it as like effortless for your potential audience and trying to figure out how to get to them and how to make it as easy as possible for them to watch it in a spare 10 minutes while they're drinking their coffee or something, you know? Is there anything else you guys want to know about?
Yeah, real quick, who are your influences in film? Who's the actor you enjoy and a director you enjoy watching?
You know, it's hard for me. I mean, obviously, I took a look at Sidney Poitier, but I think I first thought about acting watching, because I said it to my mom. I was like, Mom, I think I'd like to do that. Watching Richard Dreyfuss in The Goodbye Girl.
Oh, nice.
And I was he played an actor. That's where I was like, I want to do that. I think I could do that. Man, I could pull the panties off the line just like he did, man. Yes, Mom, let me go. So that's where the bite came. And once the bite hits, it never leaves.
It never leaves.
Never leaves.
What about you, Justin?
You know, it's tough to give you an honest answer to that. I would say that I have a myriad. I feel like being in the world that we live in, you can't really be like, oh, it's this person. It's just there's so much out there. There's such a history now, and I freaking went to school and watched thousands of movies. It all blurs together, you know. You admire people for their individual courage, but I think the lesson that all good directors, all good filmmakers, and all good storytellers teach you is that at a certain point, you have to stop looking outside.
Yeah.
And you have to look inside, and you have to get to that point where like you can actually say something honestly and face the fact that people are going to fucking hate it as well as love it. You've got to be able to like say something. That's what they all do. You know, they do it, however they do it, they say something and they're doing it with the conviction of, I am going to do this even if everyone says I'm an asshole for it. That's what I would say that every director has given me.
Well, all right, guys. Want to promote other projects that you talked about? The film that you worked on.
Oh, Conversations?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it's available online now.
It's on YouTube?
I would look for it on YouTube. It's Conversations About Cheating with My Time Traveling Future Self, directed by Pornsak Pinchot. I can't remember if it's one. Anyways, Pornsak is a badass. He's also like a story guy with DC. He's an excellent storyteller.
Also, social media you guys want to promote, so followers, so you guys can get new followers.
We got the
at Time to Kill movie
on Twitter.
Yes, and our Twitter handle. If you look on the description, you'll note that we get tweets called in by the hitman whom we base the film off of. So
it's like his Twitter. It's like Harris's Twitter.
It's Harris's Twitter, and Harris will give you tips on how to be a better victim and how to be a better killer.
How to be a better victim.
You know, make it clean and quick, and you know, pay the right people.
Don't squirm. Keep your arms down. You're just gonna get defensive wounds.
And do a lot of yoga.
Do a lot of yoga. Yeah. But down dog is not a resting pose. And I have my second film, which I produced, which is going to Breckenridge Film Festival and DC Shorts so far, is called Her First Black Guy, and it is the story of a man who wanted to be anything but that. And that is the film.
Nice. All right, thank you so much, Justin.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Christopher.
Yes.
Seriously, guys, thanks.
Make sure to check out MovieMenuReviews.com to watch their short Time to Kill. You won't regret it. You'll thank us because it's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.